Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Rashanka Jones, and today I have with me Dallisa Hocking. She is not just a fifth generation psychic medium, but also a tarot card reader and an astrologer. Today, she's going to talk to us about what is psychic mediumship and how anybody can tap into this side of their life. Dallisa, thank you so much for coming on my show today. It's an honor. I know that you're a fifth generation psychic medium, so I want the audience to really learn about what psychic mediumship is and delve into the intricacies of mediumship and being a psychic. If you could just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you use your energies in today's world.
Thanks for having me on the show. Accidentally became a psychic medium. It wasn't on my list of things to do in life. I owned a very different company. I was a matchmaker and I was hosting dating events for singles in different parts of the United States. And I decided at the last minute to go on a trip to New York to go to the Omega Institute to attend a workshop on synchronicity. And there was a group of people that study how everything happens for a reason. And I thought, you know what? I think that would be a really interesting workshop to go to. I'd love to go and hear their stories. It was on the last night of that trip that I so happened to stay at a friend's house who received a phone call while I was there that his aunt had died unexpectedly. And that night, while staying at his house, she came to me while I was sleeping. And in my dream state, I could see her. I could hear her through telepathy, her energy communicating with my energy. And the next morning, I delivered the message to my friend, and the rest is history. I've been doing this for about a decade now.
Wow. So you're a psychic medium. Can you tell me what is mediumship? What is it like being a psychic medium and how is it different from being clairvoyant?
It's a great question. And it's one I actually get pretty regularly. Mediumship is someone who can communicate with loved ones. So it can be people, it can be pets that have passed away, that have crossed over to the other side. Psychic is more predictive. And not all psychics are mediums, but every medium I've ever met is also psychic. And the reason is because I believe it's a frequency. So if you think of it as like a scale, mediumship, you have to get really, really high in the frequency in order to communicate with energy on the other side. Psychic, you don't have to get your energy as high. So that's why some mediums are psychic, so they've already like surpassed that frequency needed. Mm-hmm. But if you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm a clairvoyant" or "I'm a psychic," it doesn't really mean that they also do mediumship. You'd want to ask the person to see if they also do that, because I think psychics are more readily available versus mediums. I don't think we see as many mediums in the world today. I think you see many more like astrologers and card readers and some psychics.
Yeah, there's so many astrologers on YouTube right now. It's a little insane. Like it's hard to believe that everybody's really an astrologer. So, if I were to just put it in few words, mediumship is basically talking to those who've passed and being able to communicate with them and send them messages. And psychic is just someone who gets visions.
They might not even get vision. Psychic, yeah, I love that we're talking about this. So psychic may see clairvoyantly, like imagery and symbols out of their third eye. They might hear words and phrases that would be clairaudient, where they hear it through their ear. They might feel it in their physical body, which is clairsentient. They may have it drop in, which is claircognizance, where they just know what they know. But some card readers, for example, they may not get any of those sensations or downloads. They might just literally be reading the card. So anyone listening that is considering going to someone for a reading or predictions about their life, you may want to ask the person, if it's not really clear on their website or on their social media, how do you get information? Because it'll probably tell you a lot of whether it's a gift that they were born with or have developed, or if they are really, reading an astrology chart or reading cards, because it's not a one size fits all industry.
Yeah, I mean, I've been studying astrology myself since 2014. I don't know if you were doing Western or Vedic, but I've been studying Vedic astrology. And it is so, so different from Western astrology and tarot and uh, so many different things out there to predict. Which, leads me to my next question. How do you know which one to follow, which one to believe, right? Because your astrological chart could say something, and then you have like a psychic medium like you who's giving you like real time information. Like, how do you know what's the right thing?
Absolutely. I think it goes back to our own individual intuition. Because if you're having a conversation with an astrologer or you're looking at your birth chart and you just feel something in the pit of your stomach that feels truthful, then I would lean more into that. Something I've seen over the years, because I've been doing this for about 10 years, that some people will get really hooked into listening to other people's opinions about what they should do. And so they might go to an astrologer and then a psychic, and then they might go to a tarot card reader, and they're asking the same questions pretty much to all of the people they're going to, instead of maybe do one reading with one person and sit with it for a while. Have a few months go by, do some journaling, some meditation around it, and see what stands out to you, what feels aligned with you. Because a psychic, at least in my experience of it, it's like me being an interpreter. And so when I do psychic work, I am watching symbolism. I'm watching these little mini movies. I'm hearing words and phrases. I'm feeling things. And I have to synthesize all of that and come up with what spirit is trying to get me to say out loud. It's like playing a really interesting game of Pictionary, but I am only as good as my interpretation. And so I explain everything that comes through, and I hopefully do it in a way that the client understands. But every psychic's going to be a little bit different in how they decipher, what's coming through or the messages that they're getting or what the cards are saying. So I would say pump the brakes a little bit and maybe just go to one one person and then
Yeah.
see what develops.
I think certain countries, this this is hotter than the others, like spirituality, astrology. I'm from India, and in India, it's big. Every family has an astrologer. Every family knows um, a healer or a guru or someone who is giving them hope, that sense of hope. So you'll see even on YouTube, most of the astrologers are Indian or the followers are Indian. Uh, but I totally agree with that advice that just to like take a step back and trust maybe one person and maintain a journal and then do some analysis instead of going all out. So, Delisa, when you get these messages from the spirit world, what is it like? I know you briefly mentioned you hear things and it's like a download. But is it like an actual voice like whispering into your ear?
Great question. It actually sounds like my voice, but a little subtler, a little softer. So it doesn't sound like how I sound in my own head right now as I'm speaking with you. It just feels like a lighter version of my voice that passes over my right ear. And I know that that is spirit, communicating with those words or those phrases. Because if it sounds like what I sound like right now, I know it's not the clairaudience ability.
Mhm.
But that has taken, time to cultivate. I teach a lot of psychic development, and I tell my students all the time, it does take time. It does take practice. And one of the easiest things I think people can do that want to develop their skills is to do guided meditations or some form of breath work, meditative work, at least a few times a week, because through meditation, you start to notice the soft subtleties between what your brain, your ego is projecting, and then what is spirit saying and downloading. Because if you're not practicing getting quiet and understanding the subtle differences, it may just feel like you're talking to yourself, but you'll come to learn that when you're practicing, and let's say you hear a few words about somebody in your family perhaps and having issues with their car. And you're like, yeah, but maybe I'm just making this up. But if you tell the person, your family member, I'm feeling like you're going to have some kind of car issues. Is everything okay? Maybe leave a little extra early for work tomorrow, whatever it is, right? But it's through sharing those messages, you get confirmation. And through those confirmations, you start to trust your own abilities more.
Okay. So like little bit success makes you more confident, similar to anything else in life.
Exactly.
So when you're, when you see these things or hear, it's mostly hear auditory, right? You said.
It depends on the person. So for me, when I am sitting getting downloads, I usually see a lot more with clairvoyant. So that would be photos, imagery, symbols, mini movies. So I get a lot of the clairvoyant messages. But I would say that clairaudience, so the words, and also the feeling in my body, I think those would be like my top three. And they all work interchangeably when I'm doing a reading.
Is it like a button in your body where you're like, okay, now I'm meeting? So for example, you're seeing me for the first time, uh, you don't know anything about me. How is it like, you just press that button and you're like, okay, Rishanka's ancestors, talk to me, tell me about her. How do are they always around you? Like that's what is so like, I'm so curious to know that.
All of us have our angels and our guides and our ancestors around us all the time.
Wow.
So for me, I think I was born into a family, that had this gift. So I think it's naturally wired into me. I generally don't get downloads unless I tell them I'm like ready and I'm willing to receive those downloads. It's almost like turning on a light switch, and it's a frequency. And so I know how to quickly, through all these years of practice, get my frequency to match what I need it to be in order to start that flow of energy coming through. But yeah, they're kind of always on standby. If there's something that I need to know, but I'm not, working, they will still bring it through. I've had that happen on, multiple occasions, including different instances where there was a crime that was about to unfold and I received information about those crimes, those three instances before they happened. But I was just minding my own business. I wasn't working and the information dropped in. So they know that if it's important, they can certainly bring me that information, but we all have access to that. And part of why I teach psychic development is because I want people to understand that they have this within them as well. They don't have to go to someone to find out information. They can start to trust their intuition even more than maybe what they do right now.
Wow. And when you hear these voices or, have visions, is it about future events, like in that person's life, or is it just like present energies or something of the past? Or it depends on the question that the person's asked you?
All of the above. All of the above. I've worked with people over the years where perhaps there's something they haven't healed from that is still weighing heavily on them, because they may come to me for a session and say, oh, I want to look at my job and my career, and I really don't like my job. And I start looking in their energy and I'm, asking spirit for information on their job, their career, what they could be doing next. And spirit's like, oh yeah, but wait, we need to talk about why she's playing it so small and doesn't have enough self-worth to leave this job. So we need to go back in time to get to the root of that so that she feels more confident leaving her job. So somebody may think they're asking a very, big question about their life, but it can be like a really easy answer. And oftentimes I go so deep into the energy that it's designed to help the person really feel comfortable and confident in their own skin. Regardless of what they've been through in their life, I feel like you can heal just about anything if you're willing to. And so it's never really just a simple answer usually. It takes a little bit of time to unwind the story a little bit. But there's always a reason the person is asking certain questions in a session. And I've also noticed over the years, they usually know the answer already. They're just looking for validation or maybe permission.
Yeah.
to go and make the big decision they want to make. And so they go to a reputable psychic or a card reader or an astrologer and they're like, oh yeah, it looks good. Then they feel like, oh good, I feel relaxed. I'm going to go ahead and make the decision. But the reality is you can do that all on your own if you're, trusting yourself and understanding that you can't really screw things up too bad.
Yeah.
You can always, get back on that higher track, that higher vibration that is designed and available to all of us.
You think, you mentioned that a lot of people have the answers within. They just come for validation and confirmation. Sometimes people need help with how to do it, and they may not have those answers, right? Do you think you can help people with the how to? Like, for example, I want to leave my job, but I want to do X. But I don't know how to do it. Who do I approach? How do I go about it? Do you also get answers about that?
And if it's not something that I, Dallisa, would logically have the answer to from,
Yeah.
my experience in doing this work, I can ask spirit, what should they do next? And sit there and then read the answer on that. I have a lot of people that come to me for business, like psychic business
Yeah.
sessions. Those are really fun because I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've owned a few different companies. So I just love marketing and storytelling and all of that when it comes to business. So a client can come to me and say, I've been thinking about starting a business.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I should do. I mean, it could be that general or that open of a question. And I would just tune in and see what naturally aligns with their energy. And let's say it's they're telling you to start your own bakery. And then the person might say, well, how do I do that? Right.
Yeah.
And then I'll get a bunch of downloads about what it looks like, what it feels like, what the main product is in the bakery. Like I can channel all kinds of things, colors, a name for the business. So those are really fun because
Wow.
you can feel the person light up, because they feel hopeful and they feel like, yes, I can do this. And so those can be really impactful. And I talk fast during sessions usually because I'm
Getting
downloading a
so
lot
much.
and I don't remember it afterwards. And so I'll record the audio for them so then they can listen back and hear all of the suggestions that Spirit had for them during the session.
Wow. That is it's giving me shivers even just thinking about it. So, you mentioned that if someone wants to tap into their spiritual side and, trust their intuition more, they should meditate. And, I've heard two different definitions of meditation. Close your eyes, concentrate on your third eye, and just let your thoughts flow. The second definition is that close your eyes, concentrate on your third eye, and keep your mind empty. And I don't think that's possible. Being a human being, there's just like so many thoughts that come in. So, what is truly meditation and what is the right way to meditate if you have to tap into this energy?
An excellent question. I love how you phrase that because if you want to meditate, but you feel like your mind is really just moving and it's going to be hard to quiet it, then I would actually lean into that. And in that instance, I would grab a journal and a pen and I would just start free flow writing. Like, what wants to come out of my mind? What is my heart trying to tell me? What do I need to know today? And so I would treat that as more of a journaling space and time rather than trying to sort things out just in my mind alone. So I have found that journaling just helps to process all of that, a little bit easier and helps you come to some conclusions and come to some space of healing and all of that. So for me, when I do meditation, I like to do it where it's a guided experience. I take people through guided experiences. We just go on Zoom and I walk them through it and I actually channel it. And I work with archangel energy. And I found that my students really love those because they can sit and listen to my voice and just feel their own breath go in and out of their body. But the archangels are the ones that are going into their energy and shifting and releasing things that no longer serve them. And so if the student just takes the meditative time and just listens to my voice and feels their own breath, and that is plenty. And I just tell them, the thought comes into your mind it's not about fighting against the thought. It's more acknowledging that the thought is there and even thank it for showing up. Because if you try to fight it, oh no, I'm thinking about the gas station and the grocery list, like it'll keep showing up trying to get your attention. But if the thought comes in of don't forget to get milk at the grocery store, and you're like, oh, thank you, it actually just naturally floats in and out. And so you just remember that you will have that information come back to you when you come out of meditation. Don't worry about trying to memorize everything, that's coming into your mind. It's just because you're starting to relax, your brain starts to overact a little bit. But with more practice, it gets easier and your mind actually does get quieter. But I also think you can do meditation in the form of movement, meaning, some people like to turn on music and dance. Some people like to get on their bicycle and, ride 5 miles. Those count too. And so I would rather see someone do something that feels healthy and good for them, for their mind, body, and spirit, rather than trying to force themselves into a type of meditation that maybe doesn't feel naturally fit for them at that point in their journey.
And I don't know if you're familiar with mantra chanting, where you just take one name and you kind of just go over and over like 108 times or 1,008 times. Do you think that also makes you like spiritually powerful or more intuitive, or that's not connected at all?
I think it can help you feel really connected to yourself and to the divine energy. It reminds me of like the rosary, praying the rosary, where you say the prayers, you go around the rosary. And so I think that it can help you feel more relaxed and comfortable in your own body and connected to source energy. With mantras, I'd say it's important to believe them, because if you're just saying the words, I don't think they have much of an effect. But if you're saying them and you're believing them, then absolutely, I think it can align your frequency with bringing in whatever it is you're utilizing with that mantra. So they can be effective if you believe they can be effective.
This could also be a form of meditation, right? Where you're just kind of centering yourself and being repetitive about something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And Dallisa, this is a very deep question, and feel free to completely dodge it if you don't want to talk about it. But do spirits ever talk to you about intergenerational trauma and ancestral trauma? Do they ever come and tell you that, oh, we've had very bad trauma in our family, and this is how we want our next generation to heal themselves and break those curses?
Yes, I have had that happen in sessions over the years. I think it really depends on if the client is open to it. But I've had instances where like a mother or grandmother, or even, longer, farther back in the lineage, has come through and have said to me, you need to work with her. Let's say, for example, the client, you need to work with her on going back to when she was inside of her mom before she was born, and do work within the womb and the energy that she took on from her mom when her mom was pregnant with her. And then I've seen inside of the womb where it goes back, it's almost like lines of gold energy that go between each of us back into our lineage and our family. And so I do think that what we do here and now with this lifetime does impact people that came before us and what will happen after us. So I do think we have some free will in there around our own healing and how that moves up and down the family tree. But it has been interesting with the womb situations in some sessions. And I've also seen over the years them telling me about going into the inner child and sitting with the inner child and different memories they've had as a child. Sometimes that comes up in a past life session. The client will say, oh, I want to look at past lives. And so I go into the Akashic Records and pull up different lifetimes, and I'll start channeling. And then usually I work with Archangel Michael and Metatron in those Akashic Records sessions. And they'll start showing me, okay, well, now that we've looked at these lifetimes, we need to pull in this person, this person, this person, bring them together, do a healing between these different souls, So I've seen that probably most prevalent in the last few years with Akashic Records and looking at past lives specifically.
Wow, it's such a fascinating world. So, can you tell me a little bit about Akashic Records? I've read about it, and I've also heard that anybody can do it. I've tried it. I personally could not do it. It was a joke in my head. But I don't think I'm spiritually there yet. So, can you explain what they are and how does one actually do it the right way?
Absolutely. There are different meditations you can find. You may even be able to dig into places like YouTube and just search guided meditation for past lives or guided meditation to view the Akashic records. So either one, you can play around and listen to and find some that you like. But if you wanted to do it by yourself, I would say do a guided meditation where you're doing the visualization. And it's going to feel like you are making it up in your head when you're doing the visualization. But with practice and beginning to notice the subtleties, you will start to feel what is more of a message and what's sticking with you as a memory after you get done with each of the past life sessions that you do or guided meditations. The Hall of Records is where I go on the other side. So the easiest way to describe it is I take my consciousness to the other side. It's a different dimension, a different frequency, and it looks like a big library on the other side. And there's a grand staircase in front of it. I go inside of the building, and Archangel Michael and Metatron, I call in to meet me. So they come and meet me and they take me into this area within the hall where everyone has past life records that are stored. And I go into the records, I sit with them and start channeling on each one. So many of us have lots of lifetimes that we've had. And so I approach it asking the archangels to help me. Usually in a session, select 3, and we do one at a time. But I ask them specifically to show me a lifetime for the client where there's something that happened in that past life that is directly correlated to something that's happening in this lifetime and something they're dealing with now. It's like we're going back into a past life to pick up keys and then apply the keys to this lifetime. So I think it can be very freeing. And I've had a lot of clients say, wow, it makes complete sense that, my husband in this lifetime was my boss in another lifetime and those dynamics. And so they find it fascinating to be able to piece together more information about relationships that they have in this lifetime. So it helps them navigate it a bit more. But yeah, anybody can do it. Anybody can go into it. If you're going to do it on your own, it probably will take some practice with meditation. If not, I would say find somebody that does past life sessions or Akashic Records readings, and you can find out a lot about careers you've had in other lifetimes, what your soul would like to do in this lifetime, and it can be very helpful for somebody that maybe feels like they haven't completely aligned with their purpose or something they feel like they know they signed up to do, but they can't figure it out. And helps them get a little bit deeper into what that agreement was before they were born.
Wow. So you are doing Akashic record reading and past life regression. They're two very different things, right?
They, in my opinion, are the same. So I'm
Okay.
going into the Hall of Records where the Akashic Records are stored.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading and channeling those, which would be the past life. So to me, they're kind of one and the same.
But isn't past life regression more like using hypnosis and, putting you in a whole different realm? Like you're working with the person who's the subject. It's not like in Akashic records, you are going into your own intuitive ness, right? And in past life regression, it's more about the subject. Is that the difference, or it's kind of the same?
I feel like there's a lot of overlap between it. I'm not a hypnotherapist, and so
Okay.
I approach it by channeling and just
Okay.
channeling the record.
Mhm.
I've also done it where I've relaxed the person through a guided meditation and they are with me in the Hall of Records. And I've given them an opportunity to see what they see first as we go into each record. But I've just noticed over time that they would just prefer that I channel it and tell them. But I've personally had my own experiences where I've been under hypnosis and gone into past life visions. I've had several of those. So I've been on both sides of the equation. I think it's just a personal preference. someone may want to go under hypnosis and see it themselves and have that experience. And some people just say, channel it and tell me what you see, because maybe they don't feel like they can go under hypnosis, or maybe they don't feel comfortable doing that. So there's different practitioners for different kinds of sessions that somebody's looking for.
So if someone were to tap into this side of their life, how do they distinguish like real intuition versus fear or wishful thinking? Like, how do you know which message is the right one? I know you earlier said that if something sticks with you, but is there any other sign?
At first, it's going to be pretty challenging to differentiate between the two. An exception could be if somebody has a dream and they feel like the dream was a premonition. I would definitely keep a dream journal and be looking back at what you feel was coming through as a message through your dream state, because we're relaxed then, and so more information can generally come through when we're asleep. But if it's just kind of going through everyday life, I think it hits you more in the stomach or in the heart. Pay attention to what you're feeling in your physical body. If you're making breakfast for yourself one morning and you start to feel a heaviness, let's say in your chest, I'd pay attention to that. It could be your spirit team trying to get you to slow down. Maybe they're trying to get you to avoid a car accident that you may have been in on your way to work. Maybe you're thinking about someone and then they text you or they call you. It's those little nudges inside of yourself, but generally speaking, it's not going to feel like a freight train. It's going to feel like subtle, soft impressions that you either feel in your body, or you just have this knowingness, this sense that there's something that's going to happen, and maybe you have an idea of who it pertains to, or maybe you just feel like, gosh, I feel like I'm going to get in a car accident. I'm going to wait a few minutes and see if I can, avoid that. But it's generally not going to feel like it's screaming at you. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are so busy that they don't take the few minutes or even a few moments to acknowledge what it is that they felt and lean into it a little bit to get a little bit more curious about why they're feeling that way or getting that sense. They're just like, I've got 50 things to do and I'm running late and I gotta go. But your intuition really is a superpower. But I would trust what the body is telling you as one of the first indicators as you're getting deeper into listening to your intuition.
Got it. And Dallisa, you've predicted some really big events, like global events, the pandemic and the Washington D.C. crash, and it's amazing that you foresaw all these things. Do you see anything that's scary or that you would want to give a heads up for humanity in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I have chills even as I start to talk about it. And chills through my body is confirmation that there's something important that's being discussed. It's like an exclamation point for me. And some people will also get chills in different parts of their body. I'd pay attention to that because that's usually spirit saying, hey, pay attention. So the fact that you even asked that question, we know that there's significance to it. I think that where our world is 5 years from now is completely different than where we're at today. The things that we're used to and the way that things happen in our day-to-day life feel like they're going to be shifting dramatically. I think that over the next, I would say 7 to 8 years, Spirit has told me 8 years, but 8 years will be a pivotal point in time where it feels like we as humanity will be integrated in a big way with technology and artificial intelligence. And I've done some channelings on this before, and what I've been warned about through the channeling is that there will be a choice point for humanity, and it feels like it's in these next 7 to 8 years where we will have to be very conscious and aware of the choices we're making with artificial intelligence. Otherwise, we could hit a point of no return, which then feels like it could be AI infiltrating all of our systems. And it's like, well, then what would humanity be in control of anymore? So there's a huge potential for great growth and significance. I do think artificial intelligence will end up curing diseases and coming up with different medications and working hand in hand with scientists. So I do think what we'll see with health and medicine and different cures will blow our socks off in the next 5 years. So I think we're going to make tremendous strides there. But I also think on the flip side that we're going to have challenges regarding our work and people really struggling, some people with understanding, well, why was I born? Why am I here? Especially people that have really identified themselves and their value with their job, with their paycheck. Because there'll be so many changes with productivity and what robotics and technology will be able to do, there won't be as many people that have traditional jobs anymore. And so they'll be forced to either take on a different job in a different industry or create a new product or create something that works hand in hand with technology and AI, or they may question altogether, are they going to work? Do they want to work anymore? What does that look like? So I do think that there is a huge potential in the energy now that in these next 5 years that they will look at some kind of universal basic income, because the paycheck every 2 weeks doesn't feel like it's going to be as readily available to as many people. So we're going to feel like in 5 years from now, get to the year 2030, it could feel like energetic whiplash because so much of our lives and what we're capable of doing has really shifted in a monumental way.
Wow. And you said that there'll be a big change in medicine and a lot of diseases will get cured. Do you see the healthcare system ever finding medication for cancer?
Yes, I do. I think they'll be able to cure all different kinds of it. And I think that a lot of what I've been shown as a channeler is things that they'll be utilized as well that will have to do with vibration, almost like a frequency therapy. So using vibration, and even as I say that out loud, I'm seeing like plates shifting and vibrating. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was some kind of device that somebody would lay on and the frequency would be like dialed in to whatever it was they were trying to heal from. And the frequency would elevate the person's body to the point where the body wouldn't be able to hold on to the dis-ease anymore. So I do think it's going to come down to frequency, sound, light, more holistic therapies. I think will be more integrated. But there's something with vibration that I think is going to be a big key to unlocking a lot of diseases and illnesses, not just cancer.
Wow. It'll be amazing if they find a solution for that. Wow. So, Dallisa, this has been amazing. Just to end things, any final piece of advice or words of wisdom for someone, who is trying to tap into this world, and how do they do it?
Yeah, anybody can do it. Anybody, even if they've never had a family member that could do it or a friend, or maybe they don't know anybody in their lives that's supportive, they can still do it. It's within them. And it does take some practice. It's like a muscle. And so I would say, keep practicing. And I have classes on spiritandSpark.com that they can check out if they're interested doing, guided meditations or whatever form of meditation or breath work or journaling that they feel most aligned with. Stick with it. I'd say, pick something, a goal that you want to achieve in the next 30 days as it relates to your own inner sanctuary, your own well-being as it relates to any of those things. Maybe it's that you're going to commit to meditating 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week for 30 days. And stick to that. I don't think it needs to be for the rest of my life, I'm going to meditate every day. Just pick a goal that feels achievable and then achieve it and do it and see how you feel after 30 days. But I don't think we have to get into hour-long meditations and do these massive deep dives every day, every week. But I do think a simple practice, even if it's 5 minutes a day of meditation or journaling for 5 minutes in the morning before you start your day, it's those little things that can make a huge difference in just a couple of weeks, a month, and we can just feel so much lighter doing it for even a short amount of time. So yeah, that's what I would say. And I think this quote keeps jumping in, so I feel like somebody needs to hear this. But I love Rumi, the poet Rumi, and one of his quotes is, "Live life as if everything is rigged in your favor." So regardless of what happens, good, bad, otherwise in your life, remember that everything that is occurring in your life is happening for you, not to you.
Wow, that's just fantastic advice. Thank you so much. I am so honored to have you today, and it was such an insightful podcast, Dallisa. Thank you once again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on the show.
And Dallisa, is it okay if I put the link to your website and your courses in the podcast if anybody wants to reach out for, joining a course or just a consultation?
Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.